Hello. Isambard Kingdom Brunel was the son of mechanical engineer Sir Mark Isambard Brunel, who arrived in Britain via the United States after fleeing France during the Revolution, and married Sophia Kingdom, an English governess he had met in Rouen. Isambard was born at Portsmouth in 1806, where his father was working on the Royal Navy block mills. Brunel Sr. went on to oversee construction of the Thames Tunnel from Rotherhithe to Limehouse, probably the first tunnel successfully constructed under a navigable river. It was built between 1825 and 1843 and was made possible by a special tunnelling shield, designed and patented by Mark Brunel and made by Henry Maudslay, who we looked at in part 8 of this series. A prototype from which the equipment later used in building the London Underground was developed. Brunel Jr. learned much from his father and assisted him on the Thames Tunnel project. In 1833 and in his mid-20s, Isambard was appointed chief engineer to the newly formed Great Western Railway, in which position he was responsible for surveying the route for a railway line from London to Bristol. A locomotive works was established at Swindon, and the first train ran on the part-completed track as far as Maidenhead in 1838. Brunel took the controversial decision not to follow George Stephenson in using a 4 feet 8.5 inch gauge track, on its way to becoming the industry standard, choosing instead a much broader gauge of 7 feet and 1/4 inch that he believed would provide passengers with a more comfortable, smoother ride and allow for heavier freight to be carried. This image shows a broad gauge locomotive on a mixed gauge track at Didcot Railway Centre. Broad gauge remained in use as part of a dual system until 1892. Brunel's experience working with his father on the Thames Tunnel informed the construction of several tunnels for the Great Western Railway, including what was at the time the longest railway tunnel in the world, running beneath Box Hill between Chippenham and Bath. Paddington Station, the London terminus designed by Brunel, opened in 1854. Its construction was influenced by the Crystal Palace, built to house the Great Exhibition in 1851. Brunel's other station designs include Charlbury in Oxfordshire. And at Bath, he was responsible for the design of the Royal Hotel in Manvers Street, conveniently for passengers directly opposite Bath Railway Station. This picture shows the train shed at Temple Mead Station in Bristol. From Bristol, the railway was extended to Exeter in Devon and into Pembrokeshire in West Wales to a terminus at the port of Neyland on the Milford Haven estuary. These railway lines remain on Brunel Quay at Neyland. The last train ran here in 1964. Brunel's vision was a possibility of a ticket bought at Paddington, taking a traveller all the way to New York, transferring at Neyland to cross the Atlantic on board his Great Western steamship. The Great Western Steamship Company had been formed by Brunel with a group of investors to offer the first regular scheduled transatlantic service. Brunel's Great Western, a 4-masted wooden paddle steamer, had been launched in 1837. Sails supplemented steam power to help stabilise the ship in rough seas and economise on the amount of coal that needed to be carried. Convinced that a screw propeller would be superior to paddle wheels, Brunel tested his theory on steam tugs before incorporating the idea in his designs for the iron-hulled SS Great Britain, launched in 1843. Described at the time as the greatest experiment since the creation, and now regarded as the first modern ship. Sails are fitted for economy when the winds are favourable. After suffering storm damage rounding Cape Horn in 1886, the Great Britain limped to the Falkland Islands, where she was assessed as not economical to repair. The ship was then sold to the Falkland Islands Company to be used for storage. In 1936, neglected and in a dilapidated condition, She was towed to Sparrow Cove, northeast of Port Stanley, and scuttled. She was rescued thanks to the efforts of naval architect Dr. Ewan Corlett, who raised public awareness and the necessary funding to salvage the Great Britain, and in 1970 to see her return to Bristol on a floating pontoon to undergo restoration. The third of Brunel's great ships was the Great Eastern, built at Millwall Ironworks on the River Thames, fitted with both propeller and paddle wheels. Launched in 1858, at almost 700 feet in length and capable of carrying 4,000 passengers, the ship was too large for most harbours. One of Brunel's innovations, dividing the ship's hull into separate bulkheads, saved it from sinking when a heater attached to the paddle engine boilers exploded with the loss of 6 lives. Brunel died in 1859, before Great Eastern's maiden voyage from Southampton to New York in the following year. After just 4 years as a passenger liner, she was sold to a cable laying company and was used to lay the first transatlantic telegraph cable. Great Eastern was broken up in 1888. Among Brunel's many other engineering achievements, I'll pick out the Clifton Suspension Bridge spanning the Avon Gorge at Bristol, completed in 1864, and the Royal Albert Bridge, a bowstring girder bridge across the River Tamar at Saltash for the Cornwall Railway Company, which opened in 1859, a few months before Brunel died. Both bridges are still in use today. The restored SS Great Britain can be visited at Bristol Docks. Steam, Museum of the Great Western Railway, housed in a restored Grade II railway building at Swindon, and Didcot Railway Centre in Oxfordshire, in a former engine shed, have collections relating to Brunel and his railway work. The Great Western Railway, Great Western Steamship, SS Great Britain, the Great Eastern, Clifton Suspension Bridge, Royal Albert Bridge. The list of Isambard Kingdom Brunel's achievements is a long and illustrious one. Not everything he tried worked. One of his most interesting but ultimately unsuccessful experiments will be my topic next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.